Welcome to The Art of Being Unstoppable, the podcast where women from every walk of life come together to break barriers, embrace their power, and live life on their own terms. I'm your host, Vicki McDougall, and each week we explore inspiring stories, actionable strategies, and empowering conversations to help you step into your confidence, amplify your voice, and create a life without limits. No matter where you are on your journey, this is your space to grow, thrive, and become unstoppable. Standing with yourself in joy is easy. Standing with yourself in a shitstorm, that's where most women disappear. You know, I didn't disappear, but I almost abandoned myself. And if you've ever looked in the mirror during the hardest season of your life and thought, I don't even recognize her anymore, you're not alone. This episode is for you. Welcome back to The Art of Being Unstoppable. If you've been here a while, you're going to feel something different in this episode. Because today I'm sharing my why this podcast exists, why it's evolving, and what unstoppable really means here. I've recorded over 50 episodes and I have many more coming, but something shifted inside me recently. And when you shift, the way you lead shifts too. So in this episode is a bridge between the old and the new. Let's start here. Unstoppable is not a hustle. It's not pushing harder. It's not pretending you're fine. Unstoppable is alignment. It's trusting yourself. It's getting quiet enough to hear your own truth. It's remembering who you are underneath the fear and the grief and the expectations and all of the roles that you have to do. Some people call that God. Some call it the higher self. Some call it divine intelligence. Some even call it nervous system regulation. But I say, whatever language you use, yes, the power you are looking for is already inside of you. You just need to come home to it. I was the woman that everyone counted on. I had 4 kids. I had a business. I worked long hours. I always had a full house. People would say to me, I don't even know how you do this. And I wore that like a badge of honor. But being the strong one did something to me. It got me sick. I survived stage 3 colon cancer. My son went through addiction and rehab. My daughters had 3 babies within 24 hours of each other. And then in 2021, I lost both of my parents. I'm an only child. I lost them within 58 days of each other. My dad died alone in the hospital during COVID. My mom had a brain bleed and she never woke up again. And suddenly I was grieving. I was responsible for everything. The estate, the family home, the memories, the business, everything. 50 years of belongings, a house full of life. And now it was completely empty. I was sitting there alone, exhausted, numb, terrified. And I remember thinking, how is this possible? How can I hold everyone else together when I am falling apart? And the truth is, I wasn't handling it well. I was stuffing my emotions with alcohol and food, busy, numbing. I told myself I had to be strong. I told myself I had to make my dad proud. I said if I dropped the ball, no one else would be here to pick up the pieces. But was that really true? But here's what was really happening. I wasn't just grieving my parents. I was grieving who I thought I had to be. Because when you've been through the strong one your whole entire life, you don't know who you are when you can't carry it all anymore. A friend said to me one day, I think you need support, and I have just the person for you. When I started with my coach, she asked me this question that forever changed my life. Who do you want to be? Not what do you want to fix? Not what do you want to accomplish? Who do you want to be? And I didn't even know how to answer that because I only knew how to be a mom, a wife, a daughter, a stylist, a planner, a fixer, a provider, a friend. I didn't know how to just be, but I knew something had to change. And the first thing I learned was this: before growth, there must be safety. I had to feel safe enough to stop performing strength. Because without safety, nothing works. You start and stop on repeat. You go back to old coping, old patterns, your old identity. When I finally felt safe enough to sit with myself, I realized something powerful. Nothing was wrong with me. I wasn't broken. I was becoming, and I had a choice. Not always about what happened to me, but about who I chose to be because of it. Through my own journey and through conversations with so many other women, I began to see a pattern. There's a path we walk when we come home to ourselves. I call it the unstoppable alignment method. And it's simple: safety, awareness, ownership, alignment, embodiment, and expansion. First, you feel safe enough to feel. Then you tell yourself the truth. Then you ask, now who do I choose to become? Aligning your actions with that choice and practicing it daily, because the old version will come back and eventually you will expand. And unstoppable isn't a personality trait. It's a practice, a daily returning. So here's what this space is becoming. It will still feel like two women having coffee, raw, real, and honest. But underneath every conversation, we will explore who she was before, what changed her, where she nearly abandoned herself, and when she began choosing herself, choosing who she got to be, and what unstoppable means to her now. And I'll ask every guest this question: who do you choose to be when everything fell apart? Because that's where the power is. So if you're listening right now and you're in your own shitstorm, hear me clearly. Nothing is wrong with you. You are not behind. You are not weak, and you are not broken. You may be in the safety stage. You may be in awareness. You may even be in the messy middle, but you always have a choice. Bravery doesn't come from the final result. It comes from the first step. One breath, one honest conversation, one boundary, one journal entry, one choice to stop abandoning yourself. That's where unstoppable begins. If this episode felt like a mirror, don't rush past it. Sit with yourself. Journal this. Where have I been trying instead of trusting? And who do I choose to be in this season? Choose one small action in the next 24 hours. And if you know a woman that needs to hear this, send this episode to her, share it with her. Because unstoppable doesn't start when life gets easy. It starts when you choose to come home to yourself. And that's why this podcast exists. If you see yourself in this episode, share it. I can't wait to hear from you and see you on the next episode of The Art of Being Unstoppable. Have a beautiful day, everyone. Thank you for joining me on this episode of The Art of Being Unstoppable. Remember, your story matters, your voice matters, and your power is limitless. If you love today's conversation, subscribe, share it with the women in your life, and leave a review to help more women discover their unstoppable selves. I'm Vicki McDougall, and I'll see you in the next episode, because your journey to unstoppable starts now.